one of my favorite interests outside of aviation is rodeo, and sometimes life, just feels like a rodeo. Like I'm dropping into the buck and shoot, and it's going to be an 8-second ride. We're just going to hang on and hope that maybe the stream works out.
You hope it's an 8-second ride.
Yeah, exactly. Stay on for that long.
Blake with Wrong Side Simulations, welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you. So I always ask everybody right off the top, why Wrong Side Simulations?
It's funny that doesn't even come up as much as I figured it would. So when I was first wanted to start streaming, I tried to figure out what makes me different, makes my content different, or my would-be content. And I'd been flying from the right side of the airplane for quite a while. I started just like every other simmer, wanted to be the captain, flew as the captain. I ended up getting a left-handed kind of fighter throttle, was all that I had at the time. So I had to think, all right, well, if I got my left hand on the throttle, I got to be in the right seat. And that was a new challenge, so I moved over to the right seat, whole new sight picture. It was a whole new thing to learn. And so I'd been sticking with that for a while. And when it came time to start streaming, I figured that was one of the big differences between me and everybody else. I fly on the right side of the airplane. But I knew that I was going to catch a lot of flack for that because, simmers. And, so I just figured, this is viewed as the wrong side of the airplane in the flight sim community. So, wrong side simulation, since I fly on the wrong side of the airplane.
So what made you start getting into content? You said, you thought about, name and everything. So it sounds like you thought about this a little bit. What made you go, hey, let me jump in?
So one of my colleagues at work, he's a huge flight simmer as well. For years, he was like chasing me down to stream on YouTube. He would be at work dispatching flights and would have some content creator in the background, typically like Captain Canada, some of the old school guys. He'd have them in the background playing in his headphone while he's kind of dispatching flights. And he would always come to me, he's like, bro, like you're so good, you know so much. You would be an excellent content creator. And I told him, it took him like 2 years to convince me. I told him, dude, I'm not doing it. Like, I know how flight simmers can be. It's like, oh, well, EasyJet does it this way and that kind of thing. And I didn't want to listen to all that.
Right.
So I brushed it off for about 2 years. And then once Microsoft Flight Sim was coming out and like finally like my flight sim's going to look good.
Right.
Then at that point I kind of figured like, all right, maybe I have something to offer. I work at a real world airline. I'm a professional aviator, and not aviator, but professional aviation, I guess, with some real world knowledge. So I figured I had something to share, something to teach, and I love to do that. And that's carried over into my professional life as well. I went into management about 3 years ago, and that's one of my big roles is some of the younger, newer dispatchers that have a little less experience. I'll try to teach them what I know, what my experience has taught me. And so anyways, if it wasn't for him, his name's Limbani Makwatira from Malawi, Africa. Super genuine dude. Like if you ever need a hype man, this dude is like the ultimate hype man. But anyways, if it wasn't for him, like I would not be a streamer, and I wouldn't have everything I have from being a streamer, like all the friendships and relationships that I've built other times. It's all because of him. So for a couple years, as he kept every day, bruh, you need to be a streamer. For those couple years, it kind of had the wheels rolling in my brain. But it wasn't until 2020 came out that I finally was like, all right, let's do this.
So you mentioned you were a dispatcher. Of course, those who watch your channel know you are a dispatcher for an airline. Explain to people who don't know, what is a dispatcher? Because a lot of times people think dispatcher, think police dispatcher, fire dispatcher. What you do is pretty different. Explain to everybody what a airline flight dispatcher does.
So the best way I can describe it, I guess, is kind of relating to football, right? You've got the coach and you got the quarterback. So for us as the dispatchers, we're kind of the coach in a way. We're going to draw up the game plan, figure out the best way to conduct the flight. We're going to determine the altitude, the fuel. We're going to steer them clear of any, severe turbulence, severe weather, that kind of stuff. So we draw up the game plan. We're going to send that to the captain. The captain's going to review it, and if he agrees with everything, he'll sign off on it. And we will exercise what's called joint responsibility. So we'll exercise that together, and every decision that's made for that flight will happen solely between the dispatcher and the pilot in command. And so we're just kind of the brain of that flight. Obviously, there's going to be times that pilots will have a different idea or a different plan that they want to execute. They have a different experience. Maybe they just came in from where they're about to go to, and they experienced some turbulence at the altitude we got them planned at. So they can give us a call, and we'll chat it out and discuss. Hey, here's the PIREPs that we're seeing. Here's when I did what I did, or I accounted for that already. Should be good. Right, so we're just kind of the brain of that flight. We're going to draw up the game plan, and then we're going to give that game plan to the pilot in command, who's the quarterback, to go out and execute.
Do you get a lot of pushback from pilots, or is it pretty cordial?
Mostly cordial. I think every dispatcher has their blacklist of pilots, and I know the pilots have the same for dispatchers. So sometimes when you see, a certain pilot's name on the release, like, oh man, like no matter how you plan it, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try to like give this flight your all, you're going to get a call, and you're going to get some sort of, it might not even be pushback, it's just going to be some constructive criticisms. But at least at my airline, our pilot group is very down to earth. They're very humble, great group of guys to work with. So there's not a whole lot, at least in our pilot group, that are the blacklist type guys. Most of them are like, if they have a concern, they'll call you, they'll bring it up. You just chat it out and tell them what you see. And if they still want, maybe the extra gas that they're calling to ask about, and you tell them why you've done what you've done, and you give them the strategy that you put into the flight plan, then we just give them the fuel, and because we don't want to degrade that relationship, over some fuel, right? So pretty much all of our pilots are awesome, and it's not a whole lot of pushback.
Yeah. So going back to the whole wrong sides thing. So obviously you've got your logo. It's three bars and then an S, which wrong side, right, for the W and the S. 3 bars, which is a first officer. And was that intentional?
It was. Yeah.
So very intentional on your logo creation, very intentional on your name creation. It sounds like you put a lot of thought in this before you pulled the trigger.
I try to. Yeah, I always try to be thoughtful with everything that I do.
Much like a dispatcher.
100%. Yeah, we're very analytical. Very analytical. At least I think, in my opinion, if you're a good dispatcher, you make data-driven decisions. Mm-hmm. And so we put a lot of thought into everything pilot, we do.
You make data-driven decisions.
100%.
Coming from the pilot side, of course, I'm not an ATP. I'm not an airline pilot, just a private pilot. But still, when I do my flight planning at my level, which is not necessarily what you're doing, with your flight levels and all the other risks that you get associated with, you can get in Class A airspace, I still make data-driven decisions. I do look at PIREPs. I do look at, TAFs, METARs, what the ATISs are reporting. I look at I'm one of those weird guys that likes prog charts.
Hey, we live by prog charts.
I know, but like a lot of pilots, I was told this when I was getting my private, prog charts. Yeah, they're kind of useful. I'm like, dude, these are freaking awesome. Like, what are you talking about? These tell me everything I need to know. Like 18 hours out, 24 hours out, 40. I can see the weather systems, the high pressures, the lows, the troughs, the ridges, all of that. And I can, if you know what those bring, you can basically predict what the weather's going to basically be. Obviously, it's the weather. Things can stall, things can go faster, all kinds of stuff. You just keep an eye on it. But I'm one of those weird guys. I like diving into data. I'm very analytical myself. My wife always tells me, like finances, for example, I'm very data driven. I to a point where sometimes I have to be like, okay, take a step back, live a little. I'm focusing too much on the numbers. So how do you take that mindset, being very data analytical and all that, and bring it over into a creative sphere with content creation? Was that a hard transition, or was you pretty natural?
I think it's a little bit hard, especially when you're new to YouTube. I wasn't really focused, and largely still not. Never was really focused on like the data side of YouTube. What drives the algorithm, what's going to get the views,
what's
going to get the
know?
likes. Right. When it came to the YouTube stuff, for me, I would try to find topics that maybe, in fact, like good example. Recently, I did a video. Something that was requested, and I was kind of surprised by it because there's a lot of videos out there already on how to pre-flight the FMGC in the Airbus. There's a certain little flow called diff strip. If anybody's an Airbus person, yeah, you'll know what that is. So I was surprised that was requested, being that there's so many videos from real world pilots out there. But for me, that's a fun little project. So yeah, I'll make a video for you. So I used to try to focus on the fact that I was a dispatcher, like real world dispatcher, flies this, does this, whatever. And surprisingly, it didn't do anything for me. Because when you look at
Well, most people probably don't even know what the dispatcher was unless you're
True.
pretty deep in the aviation. I mean, until I was, several years in flight simming and just starting my actual aviation side, I learned what a dispatcher was in the aviation world. I was like, I honestly didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the unsung back end heroes that you don't hear about.
Yeah, and I think for us simmers, most people think dispatch, they think sim brief.
Right.
That's about the
But there's a
extent of it.
dispatch name on there. If you ever look on the name, they make fake dispatch names that get thrown on there.
Yeah, and if you ever watch any of my YouTube streams, depending on what airline I'm flying, I will have a name of a real world dispatcher that I know that works at that company.
Oh, that's awesome.
On my release. But yeah, it's like when I was getting into the dispatch game, I tried to start focusing on like more data type stuff, like what's going to drive the views and the likes and the subscribers and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't working a ton, mainly because I was new.
Right.
But also, I don't know, I just kind of got tired of like trying to figure that out, and it wasn't making it as fun. So like, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. And if there's a cool topic that comes along, especially associated with dispatch, like I have a whole playlist on my channel of live streams that we've done that will somehow associate with real world flight planning. Especially from a dispatcher's perspective. Sometimes it'll be an episode derived for that. Other times it might be a topic that came up in the middle of a stream. For example, as we're getting into hurricane season, I covered how you're going to flight plan with the threat of a hurricane.
Aaron.
Exactly, yeah, as it's barreling down.
Yeah, by the time this goes out, it'll probably already be over, but we're looking at it.
I want it to wrap up faster than it's going to, and it should be a fish storm. But I go back to work on Monday, and I'll be on afternoons, and a lot of my responsibility will be derived based off of that hurricane to do advisories for the company, kind of give what the forecasts are calling for, send out some notifications that we do, and potentially have to run some company-wide calls that I don't really want to run or narrate. I don't really and that's one thing that it surprisingly came up when I transitioned from a dispatch manager into an ops control manager, where I was focused on just the dispatch group, and now I'm focused on the entire operation and every department within the operations control center. There's a lot of running company-wide calls associated with this role. And that was one of the things that was pointed out. They're like, oh, man, you'll be good at it 'cause you got that YouTube stuff. Yeah, but there's not executives, sitting on.
You hope not. You hope not.
Exactly. So anyways, yeah, I just kind of got to the point where, when something comes up that I might want to focus on, we'll do it. But other than that, we're just going to fly airplanes or fake fly airplanes and have a good time and hang out.
Cool. So I know you primarily fly the Airbus.
Mm-hmm.
What made you choose the Airbus? What was your driving factor there?
Man, I used to be Team Boeing so hard before I started working at my current airline, which I'll say who I work for. It doesn't, like, our social media policies are very lax. As long as I'm not saying anything bad
on behalf of whatever. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, they don't really care. But I work for Spirit Airlines. Obviously, we're going through some interesting times. But
yes,
before coming to Spirit, I was huge Boeing guy, and I still like 7.5 will always be my hands down favorite.
Amen.
So Bluebird, let's go.
Yes, we're waiting. We're waiting.
Yes, we are. But yeah, it's like, with Boeing logic, right? Like if you want to go LNAV, you press LNAV. If you want to go VNAV, press VNAV. Like it was very, at least as far as the MCP goes, it was very straightforward. And as I was learning airplanes and getting into the more, high fidelity aircraft, that made more sense than Airbus's, push, pull, dual knob logic.
Right.
So then when I came to Spirit, I wanted to understand the airplane more. And so when I would jump seat, I would ask a lot of questions to the captains. And finally, it took maybe 7 captains to finally explain it. It's almost like math. Like, math never makes sense till you have that right math teacher that somehow can break that barrier for you. That's how this was. And this captain told me one day, he was like, oh, it's easy. If you want to give it to the airplane, you push the knob in like you're pointing at the airplane. I'm giving it to you. But if you want to do what you want to do as the pilot, then you pull, like you're pointing at yourself, give it to me, the pilot. So managed versus selected. And that made, like, that finally broke the wall, and I was
Yeah,
able to
I'm
understand.
going to use that now.
Yeah, it is. It is
Makes sense. Yeah.
perfect, yeah. And so from there, plus being a dispatcher, I wanted to understand the airplane more. I wanted to be able to put myself, in the pilot's shoes as much as possible. So I really just started focusing on learning as much about the airplane as I could, asking questions, going into the AOM, reading and studying the flows and the checklists and the briefings, watching guys like V1, who are fantastic teachers.
Yep.
And still to this day, like, where I was when I first started at Spirit compared to where I am now is, like, vastly different. But even still, I can watch 5 minutes, 10 minutes of V1 stream, and I learn something.
Yeah.
Love that.
He has imparted a lot of knowledge to me too. I got to meet him at FS Expo. It's kind of hard to miss him walking around.
Yeah.
But tall guy with a cowboy hat. Anyway, really down to earth guy, but also just the wealth of knowledge that he has. And I'm honestly glad, a lot of times, at least this is my perspective, kind of getting off topic, but I don't care. So a lot of times I've seen people who have a lot of knowledge in the airlines typically get sucked over into a simulator instructor role or something like that. I don't know if he's been asked or whatever, but like the amount of knowledge he has, I don't see why they haven't pulled him into that unless that he's just turned down the opportunities, because he would be fantastic at that role. But at the same time, I'm happy that he's not, because that means I know that there's a captain on board that aircraft that has so much knowledge and experience that if something were to go wrong, which is an extremely rare event, as you know, but if something were to go wrong, having someone with that much knowledge experience on board, definitely brings a sense of, okay, I'm in good hands.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so kind of circle back to your question. I kind of got good at Airbus from being able to learn so much about it. That just kind of turned into my home as far as airplanes go. So ever since then, and then with 2020 coming along, and then the market growing so much for hardware, and there's such an abundance of Airbus hardware.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, WinWing. That now, like, I've just really focused on building kind of an Airbus little miniature cockpit thingy in my room, but I also got some Boeing stuff. I got
I see it. Yeah,
7.3 throttle quadrant back there. Yeah, I don't know. I guess just because I work at an all Airbus carrier, I have a lot more resources to learn from for Airbus. And then I got relatively good at Airbus, and so I just started focusing on that. Now I will admit though, I am on a World Flight team. I'm on Cali Cruise team, and we fly the 7.3. And so through that channel, I've been able to learn a lot about the 7.3, and they're vastly different machines with different logic.
Yes.
But the 7.3 is still a lot of fun. It's definitely a much bigger challenge with less automation and that kind of stuff. But it's a lot of fun to fly in World Flight. It's a lot of fun to fly with multi-crew environment, and it's a huge challenge, especially when you get like me, get so used to like Spirit's standard operating procedures and our flows and how we do things, and then move over to a different machine for a different airline with different SOPs and all that kind of stuff. And it's a new challenge to take on, but I think it's always great to try to learn as much about aircraft logics across different aircraft, and especially when you work in real world aviation. Like I could be sitting in a Delta Airlines interview one day, and maybe learning that Delta 7.3 might be something that could benefit me in the interview. You never know. So, but for now, to your point, Airbus is GOAT, in my opinion. They just do it well. But obviously, it's 20 years ahead of the 7.3 as far as logic goes. So
Right.
But I think as far as stick and rudder, 7.3 is going to be your top dog.
Yeah, I kind of compare Airbus, if you're to compare it to like modern day Boeings, you're probably looking at the 7.8. It's a lot more simplified, a lot more computers on the back end. The 777X, same way. Those are kind of Maxes to an extent, but it still has some of the old. They actually had to keep some of the old logic flows in there because they keep it the same type rating. But yeah, so there's Boeing has made some strides in that, but I agree. Like, I mean, the 7.3 was made in what, the 60s?
Mm-hmm.
The original one. So they've obviously upgraded it since then, obviously, but there hasn't been a ton of logic change when it comes to how it flies. So, as far as I know, while Airbus, I think the first, not the 310, but the first 320, came off the line in the 90s. So, that's considerably later in the game when it comes to avionics and aircraft logic and everything else. So, Airbus is a newer name to the game when it comes to the aviation world. But I mean,
and it's always fun.
There you go. So,
hey, there you go. Drink a little coffee out the Airbus mug. One of my side duties at Spirit was I would handle all the aircraft deliveries for the OCC, and one of the cool things I got to do was go to the Airbus final assembly line in Mobile, Alabama, and go take a tour. Have you?
Yeah, actually. So, long story short, I went to school at South Alabama in Mobile.
Oh, okay.
And they have an annual. They did. I don't know if they still do it. A 5K on the runway, and you would run on the runway for a portion, taxiway, and then through their final hangar, where they have the last few, like where it's getting not painted, but like the last assembly done. So you actually got to run through their hangar with the aircraft.
Dang.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Yes, I got to go and see all that stuff, and then observe the delivery process, and then ride on the new airplane up to our induction facility in Detroit. So it got me a nice little coffee mug while I was there. But it's always fun to hear the great debate, Airbus or Boeing, from the guys who actually fly it, not some dinglehead simmers like us. So like the I guess you call him like our training captain on our World Flight team. He's a Delta 73 guy, but he's also rated on the Airbus, and he's very much 73 fan. And then there's another guy, I can't remember his real name, it's Banana something. He's former Spirit pilot, flew Airbus for like 14, 15 years at Spirit. They went to United, now he's on the 73 at United. And he just did a really good video a couple weeks ago, kind of breaking down all the differences and then obviously his opinions. And to his point, if you want to be comfortable, like the Airbus is the way to go, especially like transcons. But the 73 is a fun airplane to fly, and I think it all comes back to that stick and rotor.
Yeah, 73 is it's not fly by wire. When you make an input on the yoke, you're controlling a cable which goes to the hydraulic system piston, which basically actuates the actual cables to go out to the flight controls, versus an Airbus where you're using the joystick in that side stick, let me call it joystick, side stick, where when you make an input, it's telling a computer to actuate a certain flight control. Yep. Still using hydraulics, but just a different way. It's fly by wire versus fly by cable.
Yeah. And there's pros and cons to that, right? Like you're not going to feel any feedback. You can't tell what the flight controls are doing in your hand. But then on the side note of that, when you're flying a fleet where you've got 319s, 320s, 321s, and then Neos mixed into those as well, everything feels the same.
Right.
If you jump into the cockpit, you can't tell, what type or what variant you're sitting in unless you look at, tail number or something like that. But that's by design by Airbus, which I think is pretty brilliant.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. So back to the simulation world.
Yeah.
So obviously your Airbus setup there. Do you plan on setting up a 7.3 side or like a Boeing kind of side?
Yeah, sure. I've got a little bit. I've got the wing MCP. I've got a throttle quadrant and then a TCA yoke, which I think mine's starting to die, so I might start looking for something new in that realm. But as of now, for the affordable hardware, there's just not as much available in the market. But when that stuff does come out, when we develops more and more 7.3 components, I will definitely be building something into that. And what I try to do is I try to have like a modular type system because I don't really care to have. I mean, if money wasn't a thing and space in the room wasn't a thing, like I would have multiple setups. I'd have a helicopter setup, Airbus 7.3, general aviation. But that's not the case. So I try to have some sort of a modular setup. Like this thing you can see behind me. It's my Airbus throttle with wing McDoos in it. But it's a box that I built, and I can swap things out. I can pull that throttle quadrant out, put in a 7.3, swap out the McDoos with the FMSs or the CDUs, and kind of kind of change my setup from an Airbus to a 7.3. So as Wing or whoever, if anybody else wants to compete, come on, bring it on, as long as your prices are still good. I will try to keep that same system going and be able to swap out radios and transponders and like all that kind of stuff, and just build, have a setup where I can have, both.
Right. Yeah. So what's kind of your next, I won't say goal, but like, what are you working on now when it comes to content creation? So obviously, from a content creator perspective, right? So I always have like, okay, well, I want to do this video next or this video series next or whatever. Do you have anything, kind of on the back burner that's coming up?
No, man, I am as fly by the seat of your pants as you can get. Like just doing this with you. I think we talked about it at Expo, and then I think we've scheduled it like maybe 2 times before this. I'm just so daggum busy in life between work and going from a dispatcher into a management role. Like, you definitely make more money, but you sacrifice a lot more quality of life. Used to as a dispatcher, man, I could do unlimited shift swaps, and this is what I did whenever I was first started content creation. But I would work 7 on, 7 off. So every other week, man, I could just, especially while Crystal's at work, Monday through Thursday, I could just hammer down and fly all day long. Now coming into this, I have a much more, I wouldn't even say much more set schedule, because I'm also kind of the relief guy right now. So I'm, working everybody's vacation. So I'm on, like this week I'm on morning shifts. The next week I'm on afternoons. The following week I'm on overnights. I'm all over the place. So really, I never, between work and then work meetings while I'm at home, and then Crystal, having a love life, man, it's just like, there's so many time constraints. And so really, I won't know what I'm going to do until I'm sitting down in front of my computer and turning it on. Like, all right, well, what are we going to stream today? What have we streamed recently? And let's try to find something different. And then that's about as far as it gets. I wish so much. If I do ever either go back to the dispatch line here at Spirit, which I don't foresee that happening. I think I'll stay management here. But if I go, somewhere else, if I go to Delta, I don't know what their schedule's like. But if I have that quality of life back, I would love to have, that consistent streaming schedule. Everybody knows I'm gonna go live at this time, and communicate like, all right, here's gonna be the plan for the week, and we're gonna stream this and this and this. Like, that would be ideal. I envy the guys that can have that much consistency with their viewers. But as crazy as my life is, it's just flying by the seat of my pants. Like,
yeah.
One thing I like to do, or one of my favorite interests outside of aviation, is rodeo. And sometimes life, just feels like a rodeo. Like I'm dropping into the buck and shoot, and it's going to be an 8-second ride. We're just going to hang on and hope that maybe the stream works out.
You hope it's an 8-second line.
Yeah, exactly. Stay on for that long. But yeah, so sometimes it's just kind of like that. Like, it just, we're gonna get in, hopefully get the stream done. A lot of times I have so much hardware that, like, I'm very blessed with the job that I have, and I can buy a lot of cool hardware. But at the same time, it can be a curse. Anybody who's like followed my channel, there was a particular stream that I guess became a little familiar or a little famous when I was having some hardware issues, and I just went off. I just started effing every piece of hardware around me, like the developers, everybody. I had it. It's like, you can have all this cool stuff, but it can also cost you like so many more problems. Yeah, so many different pieces of software you got to run this stuff. And so anyways, it's sometimes it's an 8-second ride trying to actually get through a stream and not get bucked off.
Yeah, no, I totally feel that. I mean, my life right now, it's about to get really busy for the next couple months, and so I'm sitting here going, well, there goes any plans of schedules or anything, and there's just no way for me to go, oh yeah, I'll be live on, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Like, that's just it's not an option.
Yeah. And it sucks. Especially like when we want to deliver the best consistency and content, for those who care enough about our content to subscribe. I think it's
right.
I think it's an awesome thing when someone cares enough to click that subscribe button, and especially get into the chat and hang out and say what's up. And those are like, especially those who are there all the time, like, you develop those friendships and relationships even though they're virtual. You want to do as best as you can by them. And give them a reason to stay subscribed and care about your content. But sometimes life's like a bull. When the gate gets pulled, you better be holding on tight.
No, you're absolutely right on that one. So obviously, in the virtual skies, you are a pilot, and in the real world, you are a dispatcher or ops manager now. And have you thought about getting your actual private pilot certificate?
I've thought about it. And really I think the only benefit it would have for me would just be it's something to put on a resume. Aside from that, I don't think it's money that would be worth the investment. Obviously, if you want to go become like a real world pilot and fly on like ATP, that's obviously you need to do that. But that's one of the best things about the role that I'm in. And I'll always say like, I'm a dispatcher. I'm very much a dispatcher at heart, far more than management. It's one of the best things about being a dispatcher in the airlines is you get to speak the lingo, you get to ride in the cockpit. You kind of serve as a crew member in a lot of ways, especially when you're in the cockpit. They always tell you when they're briefing you in the jump seat. If you see something, say something. And I've had to say something numerous times. We are, another set of eyes, and they look at us as a crew member, which I think is pretty cool. But as a dispatcher, your head also hits the same pillow every night. You're home every night. You don't make as much money as a pilot, but you can make a good living as a dispatcher. And so for me, being able to jump seat and get to sit up front and see the real thing, I find that a lot more interesting than me going and flying a 172 that's probably going to pop an engine on me at 300 feet with my luck. I don't know. I've thought about it, and I think I will end up doing it one day. But it coming back to the whole time thing right now, I just don't have the time. If I go to a legacy carrier, I think I'd have a lot more time, and that'd be something I could chase. I might even go further than that because I wouldn't want to be limited to VFR. I think it'd be cool to be able to fly an instrument and be able to rent an airplane and go fly somewhere cool for lunch. Man, like I watch some of these creators on YouTube, and that'd be the thing where like Aviation 101, like the
Josh.
Yeah, man, like just the cool places that you can get into, like Marble Canyon, like places like that you can get into in a small airplane is just so. That's really what makes it so enticing for me, is to be able to like go fly out west into some cool mountain range and land somewhere neat and just get out of the airplane and look around. Or like flip side of that, going from land to water. One of our chief pilots, he's got his own float plane, and he's based down in Lauderdale. So he was telling me, he's like, yeah, dude, like I'll just jump in my airplane and go fly out to the Glades and just land in the Glades, shut the engine off, and just float. And it's like you're out in the middle of nowhere, and you kind of experience this crazy world around you that's really hard to get to. Right. It just takes a small airplane to do it.
Yeah. So have you ever flown in a small aircraft before?
Oh yeah, a good number of times. It's not my favorite. I'd much rather put me in an Airbus, and I'm loving it. Put me in a small airplane, especially with these Florida thermals. Ugh.
Yeah, winter is the best time to fly. It's because it's cooler temperatures, less thermals, less heating of the Earth's surface and all that. So I'm looking forward to winter for numerous reasons. I'm here in Alabama, so it's warm, it's humid, and as you know, and I'm ready for cooler temperatures and better skies to fly in.
Me too.
Right now, every evening, every afternoon, thunderstorms.
And it makes our life hell in the airlines. So yeah, we love wintertime. I mean, obviously you get low IFR conditions, but that's a lot easier to deal with, right? Especially in an Airbus, you got Cat 3 Autoland, whoop-de-doo. And that's one of the things I love whenever we have like newer dispatchers come in who either like they're fresh, maybe they were an internal that came from a different department like crew scheduling or something, or maybe it's someone that came from a regional and they only were approved for Cat 1. And then they come over here and, Boston's sitting at an eighth of a mile and they're like freaking out. I'm like, dude, look, it's an Airbus. It ain't nothing. Like, they got it. But interesting perspective, though. I was doing a fam ride to Manchester, New Hampshire a couple years ago. And when we took off, the METAR was reporting an eighth of a mile or a quarter of a mile, something like that. And so I'm excited. I'm like, I'm finally going to get to see like a low IFR, Cat 2, maybe a Cat 3 Autoland. And of course, we got up there and it was VFR, and there was nothing to it.
Of course.
But the captain was telling me he had been flying at Spirit for 15 years. The week before, he did his very first like live, real Cat 3 Autoland. Took him 15 years to see that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was wild, and it's a testament to dispatch in the way that we see so much more in a lot of ways than what they see. Just because we see so many flights, we're planning like the morning guys are going to plan from 30 to 35 flights in a one like morning shift, whereas pilot's going to go fly 1 to 2 legs,
Right.
maybe 3 on a bad day. So we just see a lot more, and so for us, like at least for those of us that have been dispatching Airbuses for a while, METAR can show 0 viz, and like we don't flinch. If it's a Cat 3 capable airplane with a Cat 3 capable airport, they're gonna get in more than likely.
Yeah. So there were plans with the channel. I mean, do you have like a goal where you want to see your channel go to, or you just kind of let it ride and see where it goes?
I just like for me, and I've said this a lot on the channel. It's never been about the numbers. Like every now and then, I'll finally reach $100 in the ad revenue and memberships and stuff, and so it's cool to like get a little surprise, a little extra income. And I used to do a lot more. I had a lot more memberships back when I could contribute a lot more of my time to streaming.
Right.
And then when I wasn't able to deliver on my promises, because I had 4 channels of memberships, or 4 tiers of memberships, and each one, aside from just the general like regular, you get cool little emblem. I had services that I would provide, like I'd plan your flight, like I'd be like your personal dispatcher. I'll plan your sim flight for you, do it as realistic as possible. Then another was like I'll be your FO. I'll sit in the right seat. We'll do shared cockpit, and I'll do all the ugly stuff for you, and you fly the airplane, and we'll just have a good time. And then I think the next one was we'll go in depth and like learn some A320 or 73, whichever one you want to do. But I was running out of time, and I wasn't able to deliver on that. So I got rid of those memberships. I was making a bit more money than I am now. I think every month I was clearing like $245, and that was cool. I drove a diesel truck at the time, so it was like cool. Give me 2 tanks of diesel. I have thus switched to a Tesla, and talk about
saving money on the gas, a little bit more in insurance.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So anyways, I don't know if like most people would just continue to leave those memberships as they are, not being able to deliver and just wanting to pocket the cash. But for me, it felt, like ethically wrong that I can't give you what I'm telling you I'm going to give you, especially for the money that you're paying. So we got rid of that, and ever since it's just been, it's not about the numbers. It's just the time I get to spend sitting for one, just getting to fly a fake airplane, versus sitting at an airline and stressing out over real world aviation stuff. So just sitting here and flying is great, and anybody that wants to come into the chat and hang out and talk, like that's the best part for me. And then be able to continuously meet people in the chat, and then go to Expo and meet them in person.
Right.
And when they recognize me, like that's the coolest thing in the world. So for me, that's really what it's about.
This was my first Expo ever. I've been wanting to go to expos before. I've done media partnerships with them before, but I just never could get my schedule. I just never could get time. And this year I was like, I'm making time. I'm going to do it. I booked my flights, months ahead of time, got it all organized. And it was weird that first time walking in the door and seeing a bunch of nerds everywhere. And then, I'm walking around, 10 minutes goes by, and this guy goes, Micah Messer. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I watch you all the time. You do great work. I'm like, thanks. I mean, that moment of like, wait a second, I don't know this person. Like, who is this? And it was cool. It was cool to see that kind of recognition. And of course, throughout the rest of the weekend, it happened plenty of times too. Different levels of excitement. But it is definitely weird. I texted my wife after it happened. I said, yeah, I just had a guy like recognize me. I said, that was really weird.
Yeah. I think, it's super cool to me. I think it's special, and it makes all the extra work that goes into doing the content creation, all worth it. Because it is vastly, like, there's just so much more to streaming, getting the thumbnail and trying to come up with a witty, title, which I gave up on that a long time ago. I'm like, I'm just going to say whatever it is we're doing. But the first time for me, me and Shaq, we were at the Houston Expo, and we were in the line to go get our badges, and I'll never forget Rev Alvin O'Neill. He and his grandson recognized me and Shaq, and they wanted to take pictures with us. And that was my first expo, first time meeting anybody that I'd met in the chat. And man, it was super special and something that I'll always remember. And I see them every year now at the expo, and so like it's always, it's kind of like a little reunion when I see them. They made a very special moment for me in my life.
Are you going to this next expo?
Oh, I'm sure. Now I'm pretty mad at the Flight Sim community. How do you pick Minneapolis over Salt Lake City? Now, I'm just a huge fan of the mountains. I went to Salt Lake City this past December, went to Park City to go propose to Crystal, and beautiful, beautiful place.
What we should do is we should do a summer expo and a winter expo.
Oh, I'm down.
And you do the summer expo somewhere nice, whatever. You do north, whatever. And then you do like a winter expo somewhere like near mountains, so you go skiing, snowboarding, whatever.
Yeah. Man, and like Salt Lake would be perfect for that because you got Park City just 35 minutes down the road, and you'll have some snow on the ground, and it'll be a little bit cold, but it's nothing overbearing whatsoever. And but see, at least for me, and when they first came out that Salt Lake was on the table, I told Callie Simmer and Shaq, those are like my two like best Flight Sim friends, and I told them, I was like, if it's in Salt Lake, I'm doing an expo for like 2 hours, and I'm gone. We're going to the mountains. We're gonna go somewhere pretty. But that might would be the big caveat, I guess, to their to Evan and them's
maybe
planning.
We shouldn't.
Yeah, like we're gonna have it in like we're gonna put it in the hood somewhere so people won't leave.
Yeah. Minneapolis seems cool. I don't know much about the area. I haven't been there before. I've been all over the country, but I've never been there before. Well, I say that back. Like a long time ago, I had a layover in Minneapolis, St. Paul, but never been to where they're going to have the expo. But it's right there on the river, so it should be pretty cool. Looking forward to the cheese curds. You just don't get cheese curds like that down here in the South.
No.
But anyway, it's completely irrelevant.
Hey, good food is good food. Coming from Louisiana, we're all about the food.
Yeah, the first time I ever had cheese curds was at a brewery in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Oh, wow. So you got the legit stuff.
Yeah, so like it's been really hard to find something comparative to those. And it had been after a long, 14-hour day of work. I don't know if you know this, but I used to do video production for a national company that went all over live streaming, political events, stuff like that. So we were actually up there for a President Trump rally at the time, doing that. And so that's a long day because you got to get there at 8 o'clock in the morning for preset, and you're there. Yeah, it's a long day. And you may get to eat a little bit, like around lunch or something, but you're just constantly working all day. And so it was 11 o'clock at night. Of course, the only things that's going to be open after that point is going to be your breweries and stuff like that. So we went there, and the first thing we saw on the menu was fried cheese curds. We're like, we want that.
Heck yeah. So how did the cheese curds stack up against mozzarella sticks, in your opinion?
Oh, they're much better.
Think so?
Yeah,
I've only had them once, legit Wisconsin cheese curds. I had them once. I was doing some TDY work back when I worked for Delta, doing above and below wing operations. I was up in Saginaw, Wisconsin, and I had some. Maybe it was just a bad batch, but it was just bland. There wasn't much flavor to them. I was what? I would rather have mozzarella sticks from Miller's Ale House than this.
Yeah,
but no, could have been bad.
It just depends. Also, obviously being a brewery, they're beer battered and all that. But it was quite good. They're much better than the mozzarella sticks, in my opinion. Again, it's just it probably is going to be dependent on where you get them to.
Yeah,
it's going to be whatever you're going to get. But anyway, so back to Flight Sim food. Start talking about food.
Oh man, I can go all day on talking about food.
I know, me too. Yeah, well, you're from Louisiana, so yeah, y'all and your spices,
Uh-huh.
all the spices.
Mhm.
So I lost my train of thought for a second. But okay. Oh, yeah. So obviously you've been doing this for since 2020,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And you've experienced probably a lot of things over the course of that now 5 years, or almost 5 years. I think you said end of 2020, so almost 5 years.
Yep.
What would you say was the most impactful thing that you experienced?
Oh man. Honestly, probably what I just shared with Rev and his grandson. I think that's at least the most direct, impactful. Also, too, the friends that I made. So at that expo, I met the guys who are now like my World Flight Cali Crew um, team, like the founders of the team. And so meeting them and then building that friendship and getting invited to join the team, that was super impactful. I don't know how much folks know about World Flight, but a little background on that. It's basically a flight sim charity event. It's called World Flight. So you start in I think it's in Sydney, Australia, and then you fly a whole bunch of flights all the way around the world. And the whole point of it is to raise money for a charity of that team's choice. For us is Angels Flights West. So it's like a basically a volunteer group for folks that can't afford medical transport who need it. That foundation or that group provides that. So anyways, that's it's a great cause, and for us, we get to get trained to airline level in normal ops, so not like abnormals like engine failures and fires and
Right.
hydraulic issues and stuff, but under normal operations, we learn at the 737 in and out, and we get to go fly a full 7-3 cockpit setup on stream for 7 straight days. We have a team of 20 pilots, and it's super rewarding. And that's something that, aside from all the friendships and relationships that I've built through content creation, that's another vastly special thing that came about because of flight simming.
Awesome. Yeah. At some point, I need to get involved with that. I haven't been able to. Again, scheduling right has always been always a fight there. But hopefully, maybe this next go around or the one after, I'll be able to jump in on that because it is a really cool event. I watched it this last year, seeing everybody jumping in there and raising a good amount of money for all these different charities. So it was really cool to see that. So that's the most impactful. You talked about you know being recognized at Expo, and then of course making all the friends and everything. What is the craziest thing that you've ever experienced while streaming specifically?
Man, maybe I'm lucky. I don't know if I really have anything crazy, or maybe I'm just numb to craziness. I mean, like my daily life, especially working in aviation, like we experience so much crazy stuff, from wild and reckless passengers to medical and mechanical emergencies and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think I get pretty numb to a lot of stuff that would somebody else would view as crazy. But honestly, man, nothing really comes to mind. I remember in the early days, there was all these like sex bots things that were coming into the chat, like
Yes,
these
I remember
links.
those.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's when I found like the value of having a moderator. And so it's like some of my closest friends would or those who were like always around in the chat and watching and involved in the streams, made them moderators. And as soon as I see them pop up, like I knew I didn't have to worry about them. They're about to get sniped. And but really, man, and that's not even crazy. It's just it's a link being put in. But
YouTube or those bots coming into YouTube doing that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, like give me an example. Maybe it'll spur something
Like,
in my mind.
have you ever had any incidents where like you crashed an aircraft on stream or anything like that?
Yeah, a couple times. I remember when the A310 first came out. I was making an attempt to fly that, and I'm the dummy that doesn't go do practice flights before I go live. I was like, yeah, like Get in there and wing like
I'll
all
figure
these.
it out.
Yeah, they all work the same. APU gen, like APU bleed. It's all the same. Um, I don't know if it was me or if it was an actual failure, but we had a green hydraulic system failure shortly, like right at takeoff, and I couldn't retract the gear. And I don't feel like redoing all of this because redoing everything, especially in flight sim, for one, I'm very like anal about quality. I want good quality. I want a good cadence. I don't want to like take too long doing stuff. I don't want my audience to get bored. So if I have to go like restart the sim and redo this, I'm not having it. So I elect, unlike a real pilot, I elect to continue. Gear down, like I don't have the fuel for this. We can't fly as high, can't fly as fast. A lot of drag, obviously. So I don't remember where I took off from, but we're going to Indy, and we get somewhat close, and run out of fuel. And there's like a small airport down to I don't remember, it was like 5, 6 o'clock. And so we turned the airplane back around. We're going to try to land, and just couldn't make it. Had no more flight control. I was only able to control the airplane with trim for some reason. I ended up crashing into a house, but so the people who were on that, for whatever reason, they remember that specifically, and I guess it's like for my channel, it's the equivalent to XP landing on a taxiway or something. It's just something that sticks out in people's minds. So
That
every
only
now and
happened
then,
like once.
exactly,
Or
like
twice.
it's not a big deal, and it's not a chronic issue, but yeah, it's like every time I fly the A310 or A300, like that comes up for whatever reason, and it hasn't happened since. I've made it from A to B every time since then, but
Only takes once.
yeah. So I think that's probably about the most that I can remember. Usually things are relatively uneventful on my channel. I mean, it's Airbus and 7.3, and you fly it so much you kind of figure it out and don't really jack it
Right.
up too much. But every now and then, I recently did one with the new MH60 helicopter,
I saw,
and
yeah.
I was trying to pick up the swimmer or like the person
Yeah.
who's like stranded in water. I just it would not get them, and I got frustrated and I was like, all right, you're stuck. Hopefully a boat will come pick you up. We're dipping out. But yeah, and then like I think I killed that stream. It wasn't to my favorite quality, and then something happened work wise that I got pulled into. So I just like killed the stream and deleted it like it never happened. Moved on with my life.
It never happened, guys. I'll just cut this part of the video out. Never happened.
You didn't hear it here.
So what would you say to people who are, maybe they're flight simmers, maybe they're real pilots, and they're thinking about jumping into the content creation? What's the biggest piece of advice you think you could give them?
One, do it. There's no reason not to, as long as you're willing to, put in a little extra work. Sometimes you might just want to fly. It's easier to just jump on the computer and just fly, by yourself. And actually, you probably get more flights in that way. But even still, if you're willing to do more work, do the content creation. And then two, just know it's like an extremely saturated market. So if you're the type of person, not saying that I'm sure these people probably exist, but just as an example, if you're the type of person that you're trying to get into this because you want to get free stuff and sponsorships or whatever, big dreams. Not that it's not achievable, but it is an extremely saturated market. And if you would have got into this in like 2017, 18, 19, like you'd be thriving
That's
like
exactly
crazy.
when I jumped in.
Yeah, see, there you go. But jumping into it after 2020, like extremely saturated market, still doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. If you're in it for the right reasons and like you just want to make friends and then just let the channel go where it goes, I think organically, if you have phenomenal content that people find a lot of value in, especially where you can teach and people can learn a lot from it and apply that to their sim or their flights, I think organically the channel will do what you want it to do. So I say go for it, just be in it for the right reasons and expect that a flight sim content creator is like a dime a dozen these days.
Yeah, when I jumped into this, there wasn't a whole lot. You had Flight Deck to Sim,
Awesome
I
channel.
remember Captain Canada, XP72 came in 2019. You didn't really have a ton of like people who were doing this type of content. You had a ton doing Call of Duty, ton doing Fortnite, a ton doing Sims and everything else you can imagine, right? but not a ton in the flight sim world. But you had some and some really good ones like the Sim, CamCam, and stuff like that. When Microsoft, I remember, so X-Plane 11 came out. So I started with FSX back when I was 15 years ago. Then I jumped over to X-Plane 10/11. Like I jumped in right at the end of 10, right when 11 came out. So I got the same, like I got a key code that worked for both kind of deal. And then flew that for years, started my content, so my account did all that kind of stuff. When Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 dropped, I mean, I watched the channels pop up. It was insane. It went from you may have 5 to 10 quality streamers doing flight sim on the civilian side. You had DCS and stuff, people doing that. They've been doing that for a while. Now it's literally hundreds. There are hundreds and hundreds of people doing it. And so, like you said, this isn't the market. I would even argue that the only reason you should be jumping into this, thinking of doing content creation with the flight sim, is because you want to do it.
100%.
Not because you're wanting to make it rich. Because I can tell you right now, even people like XP72, Captain Canada, etc., like they're not over here driving Porsches around. They're not making their money from that. If you wanted to do that, you would need to go and do something else, some other type of a lot broader. Like Battlefield 6 would be a great one for you.
Yeah.
A lot of people, of course, there's going to be a lot of people making content on that too.
Yeah.
And YouTube's not like it used to be either. There's algorithm changes and everything else that's happened. It's a lot harder now to break into than it used to be. I mean, I remember when I first started, I hit 1,000 subscribers in like 6 months.
Wow.
I mean, it was almost too easy. Of course, now if I started a new channel, I mean, even with all the quality, all the experience and everything I have, it would probably take me a year at least to get 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
In this flight sim.
That's how,
world.
I think that's about, I think it took me like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Or so.
So just know, not discouraging you to jump in,
Mm-hmm.
but jump in for the right reasons.
100%.
And you're going to have the people that are going to watch you, and they're going to like your content, and they're going to create a little community around you, and you're going to make friends.
Yeah. It's very rewarding. There's the relationships by itself makes it all worthwhile to me. Aside from the fact that it's just fun to sit here and fly fake airplanes with friends.
In the aviation world, at Oshkosh, the phrase that gets used is you come for the airplanes, you stay for the people.
Yeah,
I feel like FS Expo was the same way. I came for the flight simulation stuff, and then after the first day, I was like, these are just really great people. I love hanging out with these people.
Yep.
And so, like, next year I'm coming back. It's not necessarily because of cool stuff. Awesome. 100%. But it's because I met all these great people like you and other people. Like, I want to go back and I want to hang out with y'all, and I want to eat lunch and dinner and go to Top Golf or whatever, go skiing. Like, I want to, because we developing the relationships like you mentioned. So if you are thinking about jumping to content creation, that I would think would be my point. If it's flight sim related, it may not be that you're going to make several $1,000s a month or something like that, but you will get something more valuable. That you really can't put a dollar price on it.
100%. And like when I go to Expo, I will usually get a couple of looks around. Like I don't interact with much of anything. One, I'm just not like, I come from the military. My dad's prior law enforcement, so like I'm not a fan of big crowds. And if I have to force my way or wait a long time to like press a couple buttons on the McDo to see how it feels kind of thing, like I'm just not. I'll move on and I'll wait till it's in my sim rig, and then I can really enjoy it. Like, for example, the Bluebird 7.5, like I walked by it, I kind of took about 5 seconds to watch someone fly it and kind of hear the sounds, and I was like, you know what? I'd rather save that experience for myself when it's installed on my PC, and I can really just soak every bit of it in. 'Cause to me, that's like, especially when it's an airplane that you love, and then it comes out for their sim, and it's a high-fidelity one, and it's really, really nice. Like, that is a special moment for us as simmers. And I want to soak all of it in and not feel rushed or any of that stuff. So, with Expo, I'll walk around and I'll kind of take a look. I will always try to book myself a slot on the Scalarkey A320 or 330. Because that's like, it's a free 15 minutes. You got to do it.
Yep. Yeah, of course.
And then other than that, like, I'm walking around and talking to people and shaking hands and hanging out and going for drinks. And that's really what it's about. If I wasn't a content creator, I wouldn't have the friends that I have. And if I didn't have the friends that I have, I wouldn't be going to Expo. I can guarantee you that. It wouldn't be, I wouldn't say it's not worth the effort and the money spent to make that trip. But if you take the friends and the people aspect out of it, it's just not worth it for me personally.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. If you take the people out of it, it doesn't become worth it. But with the people in it, it's 100% worth it. And I think this is, again, same with, like, in my opinion, same with Oshkosh, same with Sun and Fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these big events, you're coming together because of the people. You're not coming together because of what it is.
Do you go to Sun and Fun?
Yeah.
Man, I live right down the road. Hit me up.
Yeah.
Need a place to stay. I got a bedroom.
Oh, yeah, always. Always. Yeah, it's expensive down there, too. But all right, well, Blake, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on. Where can everybody find you on social media or YouTube or Twitch or whatever?
I'll just search Wrong Side Simulations. I think it's a pretty unique username. So I think if you search that, it's going to come up everywhere. I've got an Instagram. I'm not super heavy on the Instagram, which is because it takes time to like edit flight sim photos and stuff. But if you want to connect kind of more on a personal level, Instagram is great. I'll be able to respond there. Same with Discord. If you find any of my YouTube videos, all the links are in the description. And then obviously YouTube is the biggest place, and that's where I'm most active. With everything I have going on work-wise, I'm getting a gajillion notifications every day from Teams and Outlook and all these things. So I have a lot of notifications turned off for Discord and Instagram. I do check it at least once a day. But you can hit me up on either Discord, Instagram, or the chat in YouTube.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I hope you enjoyed it. And all you watching, don't forget to go over to his YouTube channel and his social medias. Make sure you follow, subscribe, and if you can, become a member over there. Great content. Highly recommend it. Again, Blake, thank you so much for coming on. Hope the rest of you guys have a great rest of your day and you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like, subscribe to this channel as well if you want to see more content like this and all the other stuff that I make as well. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all next time up in the sky.